Crew, you've got to tune to the Ranch It Up radio show, the most information packed into a 30-minute program that you can find. It's your all things ranching newscast, and so glad to be hanging out with y'all. Questions, comments, concerns, criticisms, rants, it doesn't matter. You can call or text. That phone number is 707-RANCH-20. That's 707-726-2420, 707-RANCH-20. Our email is ranchitupshow@gmail.com, and prowling around social media at Ranch It Up Show. Now, many producers are making changes to the operations. Advancements perhaps in management genetics, maybe changing calving dates and marketing times, vaccinations, or how about stopping altogether, but for the absolute right reasons. For those of you that follow the Red Angus breed, and for many that do not, are familiar with and have heard of Moose Creek Red Angus from Kisby, Saskatchewan. For over 50 years, Moose Creek Red Angus has been a leader in the Red Angus seed stock business, marketing cattle and genetics all over the world. Now that is coming to an end. Moose Creek Red Angus is hosting their complete dispersal sale December 22nd and 23rd in Kisby, Saskatchewan. Over 1,000 head of Red Angus cattle are selling. Bred cows, bred heifers, open heifers, bulls that were going to be sold in their spring sale, herd bulls, embryos, semen, literally emptying the whole registered inventory. Darren Ippolito from Moose Creek Red Angus joins us today, sharing the reasons why. And this one, my friends, we're going to hear some extremely valuable lessons, and the timing is perfect on the eve of the holiday season. We're talking about a quality of life. Darren, thanks so much for pulling the truck over and visiting with us. I mean, literally, you're buzzing around getting ready for the sale. So, Darren, let's just get this one out of the way. Once it was made public of the complete dispersion, I would imagine you have been asked this question a million times already. Why? Why the dispersion when Moose Creek Red Angus is so incredibly successful?
Very valid question. I know lots of people have inquired, and for the right reasons. When it first went live, people questioned health, questioned all kinds of other hard decisions that happened. And really, this one was as easy a decision as we could make it. I've got 18 parents. I've got a really young family. I've got a sister that doesn't farm full-time with us. There were just a lot of factors that went in there, and one of them really was that I wanted to spend some time with my kids. I just feel that that's such an important role. My kids are 8, 7, and 5. This is a really impressionable time of their lives. I haven't been home a lot up till now, and I just feel that if I'm going to make an impact in their lives for the rest of them, I need to be there right now. Kids are growing up. They're growing up fast. Everybody says that. You know, you wake up one day and you got a newborn, and you know, 2 afternoons later you've got a teenager, and then they move. I'll try to listen to good advice, especially from people who have experience. And this is the experience and advice they've been giving me is cherish these moments with your kids.
So people follow it up with the next question, Darren, and that is, so what does the future hold? If this is a liquidation of everything with 4 legs other than the cat and the dog is on the sale on the 22nd and 23rd, then what does the future look like? Or what are you going to do when you get big, Darren?
Not try to be coy with it, because I'm quite honest, is that every ounce of our time and effort and consideration has just been going into the sale. So I figure that between Christmas and New Year, we'll have a little reflection time and we'll see where we go. We're not going to get out of the cattle business. We're not even going to get out of the cow business. We're just going to get out of the registered business. And I know some folks find that hard to believe because that's who our identity is. But I also said my identity is I want to be a parent. I want to be a father. I want to be a citizen. I want to do some other things that I think can make a difference in the cattle industry. And I've said this publicly. I wrote it in my foreword. This has been an amazing community and fraternity to grow up in. I grew up in front of all of my mentors. I would be 100% a hypocrite if I didn't support my children if they wanted to be part of it. But they need to want to be part of it. I see too often that it's mom and dad's dream. And I've been the luckiest human in the world. I got to live out my childhood dream for 30 years. Nobody gets to do that, and I got to do it. So I'm not going to saddle my kids with my childhood dream. I'm going to support theirs.
But I would imagine that this was a hard decision to come to when you had to visit with your folks, visit with your family, visit with your bride, even your kids at 8, 7, and 5. You had to still kind of visit with everybody, not something that has come lightly. So has this been a few years in discussion that it just kind of started as that little seed in the back of your mind, and then that itch got a little bit bigger, and you scratched it a little bit more before you finally came up to make this decision?
This was a decision that was obviously a few years in the making. Lots of folks have said, well, geez, you're taking advantage of a marketplace. But honestly, we needed to have a lot of factors and a lot of pieces fall together to even come to this conclusion that we were going to do it in December of 25. Some of it had to do with taxation, and some of it had to do with a position of debt load, and some had to do with cash flow, and all those important business decisions that come into play long before we got into the scope of, are the cattle ready? Are they bred ready? Is there enough feed in the country? What's optimism like? What's the market like? When you deal with a size of an operation that's obviously as big as it is, people can tell by the inventory we're selling. It is a hard business decision to make, long before it's a hard emotional decision to make.
And you probably picked, in my opinion, a really good time to have said dispersion because of prices being what they are. That's just a smart business decision there in and of itself. And I know that there are other people that are looking at that same decision, because you said you can be a cowman and you can be in the cattle business a number of different ways. You're just choosing not to be in the registered side in terms of the production of producing said genetics. So there's even a number of ways that you can be in the registered business without actually growing the cattle and the genetics. So there are a number of people that are looking at the same type of decision, especially now with the prices that they are. So what kind of advice would you give to them? Because you've obviously gone through this with your family, and you just got done saying that, it was a harder business decision than an emotional decision. So what advice would you give those people that are looking at it and saying, okay, we're not going to sell the land. We're not maybe going to do that, but we're maybe going to liquidate the cows. We're looking at doing something different. What have you learned from making this decision that you can say, okay, guys, if you're thinking about doing this, here's my 2 cents on it?
Well, the first thing is your professional staff, bankers, accountants, nutritionists, lawyers. Yeah, you've seen that. That's a big bill that lots of times you hate paying. But this is the time when they're underpaid. You go to them and you tell them what the game plan is, and they sit down with you, and you bring them all in the room together and you say, okay, here's my vision. How do we make this a real possibility? And then how do we protect ourselves from overtaxation, from other issues that come up when you start to liquidate? For 1,000 times, I've hated paying that bill. This is one of the few times where I looked at it and said, boy, that was a cheap bill.
Yeah, it pays to have those professionals on your side, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're there for you. You don't always like their advice, but they're there for you. And it takes you a long time to learn that. Even your banker. Your banker wants your success. Sometimes they rein you in and you get frustrated with them, but ultimately they're there to help you achieve what you want. And so many people, me included, it took a long time to learn that they're not your adversary. They're your advisor.
Whenever we think of a dispersion, Darren, right away our minds go to something negative. That's where we started, where people said, I asked you the question, why? And people said, well, is there health issues? Is there something going on? We automatically assume the negative to it. So let's talk about the positive side of this. How exciting is it that you've got over 1,000 head, 50 plus years in the business, dedication, Moose Creek Red Angus? If you don't know the outfit, you know the logo. Everybody has seen that everywhere. What an exciting opportunity to see other people take advantage of your genetics that you've spent a lifetime procuring. I mean, I think it's an extremely exciting, and it's got to make you very proud, because we darn well know there are going to be a number of customers who have maybe never purchased your genetics before that are going to be coming in and taking advantage of these. So it's got to be very exciting that Moose Creek prefix is going to be going on in all of these other programs and making them successful.
Well, and exciting and overwhelming and scary. Like, there's a lot of emotions with that. One that I keep thinking to myself is that, all those cold, long nights you're calving, or sleepy days you're driving down the road and you're plotting your next move, you're trying to buy your next herd bull, you're getting whacked in the face with a dirty pale AI and some cow at 2:00 in the morning, and all of these events that you've done. And you've seen they all come together in this sale book. And, it gets emotional. You think about saving that calf that day, with a bag over its head, or how hard you work to find the money to buy that herd bull. And 10 years later, his daughters are, every one of them's a big picture cow in the book. Those are the emotions that really string. And then, like you said, you get a call from somebody I've never heard of before, and they said, I've been watching your program for years. I love the discipline and I love the direction. And you think, well, I didn't even know anybody was watching. I mean, the only people that were watching were my neighbors, and most of them were either pointing and laughing or shaking their head at me. So it's a fascination about. I say this to my kids, and I say this to our customers. In a world where you can't hide anything, you better have nothing to hide. And we've been open. We're just an open book on how we run our program. And boy, it's pretty gratifying to hear these people say, I wish I could have found your program 10 years ago, 20 years ago. I wish when I started doing what I'm doing, there was an opportunity like there is this fall. That's the emotional part of it, honestly.
Darren Ippolito with Moose Creek Red Angus, a tremendous story. Okay, here are the details. The 248-page catalog, along with the videos and sale details, is available at ranchchannel.com and moosecreekredangus.com. On Monday, December 22nd, the bred heifers, bull-calf pairs, herd bulls, 2-year-old bulls, and semen sell. On Tuesday, December 23rd, the open heifer calves, heifer calf pairs, single-lotted cows, and frozen genetics come on the block. The best of the best cattle marketing representatives from both sides of the border will be on site to assist with any bidding and buying decisions, and the sale will be broadcast live on Direct Livestock Marketing Systems, where you can view, bid, and buy online. Moose Creek Red Angus, the complete registered herd dispersal, December 22nd and 23rd, Kisby, Saskatchewan. Crew, it's break time here on the Ranch It Up radio show. When we come back, market recaps and more chances to get your hands on some Ranch It Up gear. We'll be right back after this.